once heard someone say that the older you get, the more problems you see. But if you see the world as a child, you see possibilities. What if we're not actually meant to outgrow magic? When we were kids, magic was everywhere. And the more I get into making this film, the more I realize that it isn't just about making a movie. It's about remembering how to play and to be curious and to follow all the strange little ideas that don't always make sense. And maybe how to find our way back to the magic that's been inside us all along. Hi, welcome back. I am Mari, if you're new here, and I am documenting making a stop motion film based on my fairy tale novel, Alchemy, and this is episode number 3. It sounds so romantic, but making a stop motion film is quite a challenge. It's literally problem solving one thing after another, and I'm going to share that with you today. So I've been building sets, and I also went down to LA. I went down to Bob Baker's Marionette Theater, which was beyond amazing. I saw it on social media, and I thought, this is something I have to go, because it takes place in a theater, but the sets and just the music, the actors, it was pretty phenomenal. So I'm so excited that I got to go to that. It was very inspiring. And this is Willow. And I also got to meet my friend Juliana. We've known each other on social media. She's done some music for me, and it's so good that I'm going to create little shorts around it when I introduce each character. So you heard a little bit of it in this particular vlog, but she's so talented, and it was such a magical thing to get to meet her in person. So more on that, and yeah, stay tuned. One thing that I've noticed in starting this project is that once you decide you're going to make something, you start noticing possibilities everywhere. And traveling to new places is the absolute best for this. You notice people and sounds and textures. You notice little moments that you might have completely overlooked before. And I think that's one of the most beautiful things about making art. It makes you pay attention. Came to LA for a couple of different reasons, but one of them was to meet with Juliana, and we had a lovely breakfast. Of course, I had to get a chai latte, and it was so wonderful to meet her. She's such a lovely soul and such a gem. She created the music for Shadow and Cassandra. You're going to see those videos very soon. And we are also going to do a separate video where she's going to explain her process of how she created the music for the video. So stay tuned for that. I'm very excited to share that. We went to the Bob Baker Marionette Theater, and it was incredible. I didn't know what to expect, but inside the theater was so gorgeous. The music was amazing. The puppets were incredible. You can't really see the detail, but they were just stunning. And these puppeteers, they have to do such intricate movement with their fingers while they're doing choreography and moving around the stage, one act right after another. It was very, very impressive. Okay, back in my studio, this is what I'm currently obsessed with. How do I make my puppets stand? Because apparently when you make a stop motion puppet, gravity is not your friend. And this is the part of filmmaking that I think people don't necessarily see. You have this beautiful image in your head, you know exactly what you want your scene to look like, and then you actually have to figure out how to physically make it happen, which is humbling and frustrating, and then equally fantastic when it actually works. I've been experimenting with rigs and with wires and with tie downs, and some of these solutions have worked better than others. I really like to use magnets, but I first made the stage with stretched canvas, and I used the magnets, and that kind of worked, but I also needed the rigs, but the rigs made the canvas sag. So then I added chipboard underneath the canvas, but then the magnets weren't strong enough. So finally, Bill helped me place a galvanized sheet of metal underneath the canvas. It's perforated just in case I want to use a tie down, which is a total pain, but industry standard, air quotes. But just in case, I wanted to have the option. So um, this actually worked. There was so many different attempts to try to figure this out, but that's okay because I think one of the things I'm trying to learn through this whole process is that making art is supposed to involve failure. And yeah, but then also success. We don't just get to see that part, you know, we just see the finished painting and the perfect post, but really there's so much more that just goes into it. And so yeah, there you go. And this is where I keep coming back to the idea of magic, because what is magic really? It's just taking something that doesn't exist and somehow bringing it into existence through alchemy. I mean, that's what artists do. A writer takes an idea and turns it into words, or a musician like Juliana takes a script and turns it into a beautiful song. And with stop motion, I literally get to build the world. I can take a piece of foam core, a handful of felt, turn it into a tiny little tree stump, and suddenly there's a magical forest. There's a place where my characters can exist, and that still completely amazes me. I've been thinking lately about creating and why we create. And maybe, you know, creating doesn't have to be, does this need to be a success? You know, I mean, there were many times when I was writing my book and I thought to myself, is this a good use of my time? I think on a daily basis, I would say, what am I doing? This is crazy. But there was something inside me. It was a story I was working through, and it took me 5 years, and I wanted to figure it out, you know, and I was excited to get up and write notes and figure out if this was going to go anywhere. And I think that's the whole point. You know, it's the journey of creating and why this puppet's not standing, and then figuring out that it can stand. You know, that's the magic of creating. And that's just something, you know, AI just cannot. AI is a mimic. It can copy. It cannot create, because create comes from inside. It's our story. And I mean, sometimes, I mean, those aren't bad questions to ask yourself. Like, if this will be successful, or can I make money on it, or is this a good way to, like, those are good questions. But sometimes we can just make something, it doesn't need to be seen. I mean, I don't know if this will even be seen. I just, you know, I want to document making my film, so here I am. Maybe it's just about, can I do this? Yeah. I don't know exactly what alchemy is going to become yet. And honestly, I think that's part of the magic. Because when you create something, you're not just bringing an idea into the world, you're discovering it, and you follow it. It takes you places you thought you would never go, and you meet people you may have never known. Maybe this is what making a film is. 1,000 tiny victories and 1,000 tiny problems. 1,000 moments of, I have no idea how I'm going to do this, followed by, oh my gosh, it worked. And eventually, something bigger begins to take shape. And maybe that's what magic really is. Not something outside of us that we have to find, but something inside us that we remember how to use.